What is up? What is going on? My name is Arvind Ramkrishna and welcome to Driven to Draw. This is going to be our first Ask Arv episode, which we got a question from one of our subscribers. His name is Wasim. And he's asked a really good question, and it's a question that I get quite often. And I think that a lot of you are really going to benefit from this same question. And Wasim has asked whether it's too late for him to become a designer, being at the age of 27. So let's just listen to his question, and then I'll follow up with the answer.
Good evening, Mr. Arvind. This is Wasim speaking. My dream and goal in this life to be a car designer. As it's my passionate, and I started drawing and sketching cars since I was 15 years old. I really need your advice on how to reach this goal. I don't know, I'm 27 years old, so I don't know if this is late now. It's too late for me to start this now. I'm following you on YouTube since 2012. I don't really have that big time to follow everything and try to practice, but I really wanted to be as I'm not good enough in my university, which is IT, Information System Engineering, and I wanted to be as a profession and passionate to work on cars sketching. I want to be car designer. Many thanks and best regards.
So first off, I just wanted to thank Wasim for the question, and also thank him for following me since 2012. That is really awesome. I mean, that's 4 years that you've been following me, so I sincerely appreciate that and your commitment to actually learn and coming on the blog. Okay, so first thing I'm going to talk about, I'm just going to sort of talk about some general things and what I've been observing in the industry in itself and what's been happening globally with jobs and designers and what's been kind of going on across the globe. What I am seeing out there right now is this globalization. There are several students across the globe that's ranging from China, from India, and in Europe, in Germany. There's a proliferation of students that really want to get into automotive design. And the reason that's happening is that even here in the United States is that a lot of the OEMs and a lot of the tier one suppliers, which is where I work as a tier one supplier, is that they are constantly struggling to reduce their costs. And because there are a lot of people in countries like India and China who have this passion and desire to learn about automotive design, that there are a lot of schools and curriculums that are now coming up, and they have been getting stronger over the years. And as a result of that, the education also in some of those schools are getting better and better because they're being taught by industry professionals, and industry professionals are also kind of giving in their time. They're spending a couple years or a few years in the country to be able to build up that curriculum and to offer some really high quality education at probably more affordable prices than they are over here. So why did this happen? Well, this happened because there's an explosion of growth in Asia. The amount of cars that are being produced, the amount of vehicles and different designs for that particular market segment is really increasing. And it's not always feasible to just have all the designers over here in the US to be able to design for product in those countries, because obviously then you need to send designers and have them as expats, send them over there, and then over time that kind of gets expensive. So that's why all these schools have been coming up, because it's now a lot more feasible to really get an in-house design in those countries to be able to manage those projects and to design those vehicles. So that's why, so in a nutshell, the market is there and the market growth is increasing. So the opportunities are also there. The byproduct of which is that the competition is now also accelerating, because a lot of people who typically go into college in India or other places design is sort of now catching up a little bit more. And students don't really want to go into IT. They don't want to go into engineering. They want to be more creative. They want to have an impact in the world of styling. They want to participate and they want to be innovative. And they want to kind of break out of that typical mold that happens in these countries of going the more conservative route. And it becomes a very difficult thing because even parents don't quite understand design and they don't really understand the background. What they do understand is what's comfortable for them, which is going to engineering or becoming a doctor or some of these avenues that they feel are assured that their child sort of guaranteed a path that's going to provide them with a comfortable income or just a lifestyle. So the short answer is it possible? Yes, absolutely. It is possible for you to become a designer. So what does that mean? What does that yes mean? So I've got about 5 different tips here. So we're going to start off with the first one. And the first tip is commitment. So what does commitment mean? Because I think it's easier to discuss commitment when you know what you want to do. And oftentimes when you get into college and you are sort of trying to feel out or trying to gauge what your interests are, you're taking several classes and sometimes as you take classes, you may spend a year or maybe even 2 years, sometimes even 3 years to sort of figure out what it is that you're really interested in and what you want to pursue in your professional life. So I'm only going to be focusing on the commitment part, that once you've discovered that you want to be a designer or you want to be an engineer, then what comes into play is how strong you are committed to that particular field and learning and excelling at it. So most people, if you are trying to excel at something, remember, a lot of people are also joining this curriculum. A lot of people want to be designers. And unfortunately, when you get into the automotive sector is extremely competitive, especially if you're looking into exterior design. If you want to be an exterior designer, then you have to, one, not only go into a very good school that specializes in design or exterior design, you are also going to be competing against other students that are also very committed into taking that top spot. So needless to say, you have to work extremely hard. And you have to work extremely hard because other students are going to be doing the same thing. And that's a great thing, because when you do get into a school and the average work or the quality of the work is above average, and then rest assured, in order for you to keep up with that average, you have to work harder. And to excel above that average, you have to work even more hard. So obviously, you need to make sure that you are very committed, that once you get into the program of the design school of your choice, and we'll get to that in a moment, then you have to be prepared to give up a lot of things. Some things that you typically like to do, you may not have enough time to do that, because that extra time needs to be used to furthering your understanding and furthering your knowledge of that particular subject in order to compete with everyone else. So hope that makes sense. The second thing you need in order to enter a design school or be accepted is a solid, strong portfolio that showcases your raw talent. You don't have to be an expert. No one is looking to you to be proficient right out the bat. No one's looking for you to design these phenomenal cars or transportation related goods or product design. And I mean, that's really why you get into design school, is for you to be able to take that raw talent and mold you into their curriculum, and they will essentially, through the process of, or during the course of the 4-year program, you will end up learning all there is needed in order for you to be successful in the professional environment and what the professional environment expects out of you. So what they do expect is that you come to the table with a certain degree of talent. And there's another thing that people talk about, well, do I need to be especially talented? My answer is probably no. But that means that if you're not talented, that means you have to do some work beforehand, before you get into school, which means if you have a passion for drawing or whatever it is in high school, then you practice the drawing and you practice those tips and those techniques. Especially, I've heard a lot of people who have learned so much, even from my blog, Driven Mavens, the old blog, just practicing what they've been seeing in the videos. It's really up their game and it's up their level of being able to draw and communicate very well. So again, that kind of ties into the commitment part, that beforehand, if you are really interested in this stuff, then you don't have to have natural talent, but you should have at least some developed talent so that they know that this individual or this student has promise. That means this guy or this gal has the capability of being taught, being able to understand how to progress in the program, because the program is going to be very intense. Will they be able to handle it? So they have to make those, they got to be able to gauge that by looking at your portfolio. All right, number 3 is creativity. So creativity is sort of tied into your strong portfolio. It's just sort of a subset. So that is basically being able to look at your work and see how it is that you think. We're not looking at complete problem solving or anything like that. Most of it is going to be just you're assessing your drawing skills and your raw talent. But if you are able to be very creative, or that you take advantage of some of the things that are being taught on the internet, or buying courses, self-investment of learning things. Remember, the name of the game is competition. So the further you can get ahead of your competition and learn new things and learn new subjects and be able to integrate that into your portfolio, the better off you are, right? Because if you can show that you have a lot of knowledge and that you've been working on things for a while, then that's not only going to get you ahead when you get into the school of design, but it will hopefully keep you on track to excelling or being able to handle the pressure once you get into the design school and you are now forced to deliver, every semester, and you're going to be working extremely hard at being able to keep up. So the more that you learn outside of college and investing in yourself in courses and taking it seriously, the better your chances are in excelling into the program in itself. And number 4 is maturity. Now, we're going to have an interview with one of my friends actually to discuss some of this stuff, but sometimes when you get into school, like we were saying at the beginning with commitment, was that you don't quite know whether you want to go into a particular curriculum or not. And as a result of maybe going through several semesters or a couple semesters, a year or something like that, you sort of find your groove and find what it is that you're really interested in. Coming out of high school and going into a private institution, a private college for design, specialized in design, takes a lot of maturity, because the work is going to be intense and because they're going to expect a lot out of the student. Being wishy-washy and not taking the course materials seriously is not going to help further your advancement at all in anything. In fact, what will end up happening is that you may even end up quitting because your mind was not really, you didn't have the mindset prepared to be able to handle what you were going to be studying for those 4 years, or even the first year, because the first couple of years are extremely intense. They're basically taking you into this curriculum of teaching you or how to draw. So even if you had some talent before, they're going to take that talent and they're going to essentially teach you how to unlearn some of the bad habits and learn the good stuff that's going to make you successful. So when you go into these programs, you have to have a level of commitment and a level of maturity to be able to handle the curriculum. Now, the last item is number 5, And I'm going to start off by just giving you guys a little bit of an anecdote of how things were when we started to research design schools and what we needed to do in order to get into a college and understand what the requirements are. When I was going to school, it was a lot more difficult to get this information. Now everything is pretty accessible. So when I was going to school, I would have to call the colleges, I'd have to speak to a counselor, I'd have to set up the time, and I would have to ask them all these questions and sort of interview them, because I would need to understand, why would I spend my money going to a college if I find out that the college is not the right path for me for this particular industry? Maybe they're not as good as another college is. So we had to do a lot of legwork on our own. We didn't have the internet. I started off in, I'm afraid to say this, but 90. So 1990, you have to go in, and it's not like you can go into World Wide Web at that time and start keying into Google. There was no Google. There was nothing. All right, so now you need to find out what's the information that you're going to be looking for. What kind of information do you need to make a very informed decision? A lot of the information is on the web, readily accessible. You can literally go to the college curriculums and you can find out from each of these colleges what their specialty is, and more importantly, what the job placement is. And if they don't have that information readily available, they should be able to give you that information when you write them an email. So this fifth stage is really about you doing your own research, because even me as an expert in the field and working in industry for, I don't know, probably now 16, 17 years now, there's no way for me to possibly know all the different colleges around the world that are now placing students and are getting students their dream job after college, because things have changed. The whole landscape has changed, and with the advent of the internet also, and me being able to share video tutorials and help people understand how to sort of unleash their own inner creativity, that there's a lot more information out there on the websites in order for you to access, use it, consume it, and be able to profit from it. So it's no different for you to be able to go to these colleges, look up the best colleges. You can just Google search what are the best colleges in transportation design. Carbodydesign.com also has a list of schools that are available to students that have a very good placement in automotive design. So that's really the thing in the end, is if you're committed and you have that maturity should also help you to understand that your success also requires you to do some of your own homework, to go and research these colleges, understand what the job placement is, and even talk to some of the students that have already graduated from that college, and to gauge their experience about the curriculum. Now, I'm sure there's tons of reviews out there with colleges that students have gone in and said and rated the college and said, this has been great, it was super intense, but guess what, I learned a lot, and oh, by the way, I got a job because I worked my tail off. The teachers were fantastic. Those are the things, those are the questions you need to be asking of yourself in order to make yourself successful. And lastly, the question you asked is, am I too old? You know what? I don't think age really matters. And I even talked to some of my colleagues that are sketching exteriors and working, have got really big positions. And most of the time, all they look for is talent. As long as you have proven that you have the ability to communicate visually and you've got some fantastic designs, I don't think they're really going to care. That's all they really want to look at the end. Are you capable of holding your own, and have you learned enough to be able to communicate and visualize your designs? That's really all they're going to be looking for. Your age doesn't really matter, but I think people get stuck on the age because that there's this fear, right? That if you don't make it, then what do? You spend all this time and investment, but that's more of a psychological thing. You have to power through it And you have to think that if this is truly your dream, then I think that you're going to do it. I think if this is really ultimately what you want to do and you're passionate about it, then, what else would you want to be doing in life? You have to put the effort and the commitment to it and make sure that you can hold your own. It comes to believing in yourself and having confidence in yourself. So I hope that part of I hope that kind of answers your question there. So to recap, we've got 5 different steps or tips for people who want to become a professional designer. Number 1 is commitment. Number 2 is a strong portfolio. Number 3, a subset of a strong portfolio, is to show some initial creativity on your end. Number 4 is maturity. And number 5 is research. Those are the top 5, in my opinion, of how you can become a professional designer, or your quest, or the steps you need to take in at least researching and the mindset of entering a particular college that is specialized in design. Now, that said, we can expand this discussion even further. In future podcasts, the plan is to really get some professors or even professional designers to sort of talk about what are the industry trends, what's going on, what's expected, what do they expect students to really understand and know coming out of school, and how they can be successful. In any case, I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we will see you next time on Driven to Draw. Have a good one.